We have with us now, no stranger to the show, Chris Haynes, a political science associate professor at the University of New Haven, joining us on this busy day. First things first, Chris, I know this is a big day for you. We really do appreciate you taking the time to join us. How are things going? What are your first impressions of what we're seeing so far?
You know, my first impressions, you have to talk about the significant rise in the early vote and the mail-in vote. We're almost at 100 million votes cast already, and that's before Election Day. You compare that to what happened in 2016, where you had about 138 million votes cast. That means that we have gone almost to 2/3 of of the number of people that actually turned out to vote in 2016. I think that is absolutely astonishing and amazing.
But it's going to create some problems when people are trying to read the tea leaves today as to who is leading, especially with national elections, because is there any reason to believe all of those mail-in ballots represent the voting populace proportionately?
No, not at all. I mean, what the polls have said is that a disproportionate number of Democrats have decided to vote early, but that you can't say that, with a blanket statement, because there are subpopulations of other types of Democrats that may prefer to vote, like maybe African Americans, on Election Day, where it is an actual event for them. And so, it does make it really difficult for people like me, pollsters, public opinion watchers, pundits, and news anchors like you to really try to get a good handle on what they think is going on and what's happening. And I think that all makes for a very, very exciting evening, and maybe a couple of days at least, where we may see a number of surprises.
Now, let's, before we get back to national stuff, I just want to talk about local elections here. Of course, all 5 of the U.S. House seats up. Are there any surprises you think that could come either in any of those races, the 5th district, the 3rd district, or some of the more municipal races?
Not really. Connecticut has been, for the last few decades, a very Democratic state, and I really do not see that DNA changing. This election, more broadly, has been very nationalized, and it is a referendum, for the most part, on Donald Trump. And, I really don't see other Republicans really breaking through all that noise. But it could happen, of course, with the increased numbers in turnout. It could absolutely happen, but I don't suspect that that'll be the case.
And you almost answered the last question I was going to have. To what degree is this presidential election a referendum just on the president? And if that is true, have you ever seen another presidential election that has been so single issue, even in a time when you always need to consider the economy, and then we have a pandemic that should also factor into it, and yet it just still seems to be about the president, the president, the president?
There have been other elections where it has been about the president and maybe the reelection of George W. Bush and the reelection of George H.W. Bush. You can point to as, for H.W. Bush, it was all about the really kind of cratering economy at that point, and that's what really took him down. George W. Bush was about his involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq. But I think the difference this time is that not only do you have news organizations covering these presidents, but you have the president himself tweeting away and trying to become part of the coverage all the time. And so it is all around us. I've never seen anything like this. We are in the digital Twitter age, and the president has really taken advantage of that. It's a double-edged sword, though, because, all of that coverage means that everything is about him. And, current polls show that Americans just do not approve of his handling of the coronavirus, and he doesn't have any significant advantages on any other internal favorability ratings. And so it's, it would be great if the economy was great. It'd be great if we didn't have COVID. But that said, it makes it a very challenging environment for the president and for all the down ballot Republicans.
Well, Mr. Haynes, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I know you will be back with us again later on in the morning, so we do appreciate your time on this busy day.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim.
Good to see you again.